Hello, I'm Aaron Satara, and I'm interviewing Mr. Engelman. So, Mr. Engelman, just to start off, what are GMOs?
GMOs are genetically modified organisms, creatures that have DNA that were borrowed from a completely different organism and inserted into their genome.
And what are the benefits? Why do we use GMOs?
Well, we've been doing forms of genetic engineering since ancient times by hybridizing with different kind of plants, but they are usually related species. And the benefits are all over the place. From if you're talking about crops, you might be able to engineer a plant that can grow faster in drier conditions, or make larger fruit more resistant to certain kind of pests. So there's a lot. Essentially, it's usually going to be a increase the quantity of food, maybe the quality. It depends, but that's the goal anyway.
So it's positive. It gives out positive.
Well, there's a lot of controversy and questions about what the true impacts might be. The people who are cautious a lot of times are we're combining genes in ways that have never been combined before, and what happens when these creatures get out into the ecosystem. There could be some unforeseen consequences that could be devastating, and once they're released, you can never get them back. So it's kind of like uncharted territory, and so I think there's some legitimate concerns about, are we moving ahead without really knowing the full consequences.
How long have we been using it? Like the past 30 years, maybe?
That sounds about right.
And are GMOs food, are they labeled? How would we know if we're getting GMOs?
In the United States, they are not labeled. The farming community is concerned that if they label food as GMOs, that the consumers will think that the quality is not so good, and then will just stay away from it. And when the food might actually, in some cases, even be more nutritious and healthier. On the other hand, the consumers are saying that, well, this should be our choice, and we should at least know that what we're eating is genetically modified or not, and then we can make, as a consumer, a decision. As of right now in the United States, there's no labeling. So unless someone producing food, a farmer, labels it as GMO free, it's just totally voluntary, and we just can't. It's probably better to assume that most of the food you're getting from the supermarket in the United States today is genetically modified.
Is this happening all over the world?
Nope. The European Union has pretty much said that they do not want GMOs in their food chain. Though there is some pushback to that, or maybe they're making an exception here or there. So there's a little back and forth on that. But a lot of other countries are just saying flat out, we don't want any GMOs. There's too many questions that aren't answered yet, and so they're playing the more cautious path.
Would there be any effects on the human body from the genetic?
So there's a lot of websites and stories out there. From what I've come across, there are definitely some stuff you can find on the internet that says yes, there are health effects. I don't really think so. As a scientist, you want to get your information from peer-reviewed journals where other scientists have sort of looked over the research and said that yes, we think this is good, that the sample size, the techniques, the protocols were done well. And as far as I know, I don't think there has been any confirmation from a peer-reviewed journal that there are some health effects to the negative side. That doesn't mean it's all good. I think we need more time to really investigate that. In the meantime, my personal opinion is the food should be labeled. We should at least, as a consumer, know, everything's fine, I'm going with it, or I'd like to avoid these for now.
Right. And what is the difference between the cost of GMO products and non-GMO products?
I would say in general, There's always exceptions, but in general, I think that the GMO products would be cheaper, largely because farmers can grow. In general, the thing is that farmers can grow larger quantity out of the same piece of land, and so they can sell it for a lower price. And the non-GMO food, you don't get as much of a harvest from the same amount of effort, so the price is a little higher. So there's definitely exceptions to that, but that I think is the general. And so then you could argue for you know, for people who are struggling financially, that cheaper food, so it could help to save a lot of lives, starvation-wise. One of the arguments in favor of GMOs is that we would not. GMOs are used so much, especially in the United States, that if we were to completely take them out, we may not be able to grow enough food to feed the planet.
That would be horrible.
Right. So there's both sides. It's a pros and cons, but we need to be informed and also understand there's a lot of people who have a lot of groups, environmental groups, and also industry groups who are only presenting one side of the story, and there's always other sides. So we have to be informed and be intelligent about it, and don't always just accept the first thing we hear on the news or a website. Kind of dig a little deeper and make smart decisions.
And do you think this industry is going to grow in the future? Do you think it's all going to be GMOs all of a sudden?
I think it is going to grow. I think there will always be at least a component of the food industry that will be non-GMO. But there are some applications of GMOs that I think, for example, there is a pest called the citric psyllid that eats a lot of citrus plants, and they have absolutely no idea. There's no pesticide, there's no natural predator, there's no way of controlling it. And it's from Asia, but it got into the United States, and it's just devastating citrus crops. In California, with the oranges, the lemons, the avocados, all these things, those would be totally wiped out. And the little bit of hope that they have is possibly through genetic engineering, they might be able to make oranges, avocados that can resist this pest, which is just, we may not have oranges in California in 15 years because of this pest. And so a GMO could come in and save the day for that. So there's a lot of, what will we do without it?
In your home personally, do you eat GMOs in your fruits or no?
Well, like I said, I think it's since it's not labeled, I think it's almost impossible to know. And in the United States, I think it's pretty good to assume that you probably are eating GMOs when you just go to the supermarket. Unless it says GMO free, it probably is a GMO. So I think it's really hard to do that. Unless you're growing your own food or sometime like looking into it.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Engelman.
Right.
Thank you for your time.
All right.